to listen to our next guest, Frankie. And Frankie is going to be joining us and telling us about Roman Polaski. I just can't wait. I really look forward to it. Welcome to the show, Frankie.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Do you hear me well?
Do you hear me well?
You're breaking up a little bit. Can you, I don't know, closer to the mic or something?
Mm-hmm. Let me try.
Yeah. Or just, I think it kind of cuts in and out when you stop. So if you talk, if you keep talking, it's going to work better than if you make a delay.
Uh-huh. It's actually the first time I'm hearing myself echoing.
Huh. Well, let me see if I can at least reduce that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. So, I hope our audience is ready for another chapter of Frankie's stories.
I know I'm ready.
So today we take a deep and sober look at the story that blends glamour and horror, art and tragedy. It's the story of Roman Polaski and Sharon Tate, two people whose lives were ultimately torn apart by one of the most chilling crimes of the 20th century. This isn't just the story of a couple, it's a story of Hollywood dreams, the 1960s counterculture, the danger of blind devotion, and the legacy of trauma. So let's begin with who they were before the nightmare. Born in 1933 in Paris and raised in Poland, Roman Polaski experienced unspeakable trauma early on. A Jewish child during World War II, he survived the Krakow ghetto while his mother died in Auschwitz. These experiences would deeply shape his artistic vision. His films often deal with alienation, psychological horror, and survival. By the 1960s, Polaski had already made his mark in European cinema. His 1962 movie Knife in the Water put him on the international map. But soon after, he moved to England and made another brilliant movie, Repulsion, a haunting psychological horror film starring Catherine Deneuve, famous French actress. That was followed by Cul-de-sac and then The Fearless Vampire Killers in 1967. It's a comedy horror hybrid that changed more than just his career trajectory. It was on set of The Fearless Vampire Killers that he met a young actress named Sharon Tate. Chuck, do you hear me well? Okay, because I still have some technical issues. Okay.
It's not perfect, but keep going.
Okay. So Sharon Tate, born in Dallas, Texas in 1943, had a different kind of upbringing. The daughter of a U.S. Army officer, she moved often and never stayed in one place for long. Tate began as a model and slowly broke into acting. So by the mid-1960s, she had gained recognition for her beauty, charm, and charisma. Her breakthrough role came in 1967 with Valley of the Dolls, where she played Jennifer North. Though the film received mixed reviews, Tate's performance won her both admiration and industry buzz. And off-screen, Sharon Tate was described by many who knew her as a warm, funny, and down-to-earth lady. She wasn't just a beauty icon, she had ambition and talent. Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate's relationship was by many accounts intense and deeply affectionate. They began dating in 1966, and by January of 1968 they were married in London. In a ceremony was attended by celebrities, photographers, and the world's media. To outsiders, they seemed like a perfect couple. He, the artistic author, and she was the rising Hollywood star. But behind closed doors, their marriage was unconventional. Polanski was known for his infidelities, and Sharon, though hurt, often tolerated it. Still, the two shared a deep bond and often worked together creatively. Sharon was slated to appear in more of Roman's future projects, and the couple purchased a home at 10050 Charlotte Drive in Los Angeles, an upscale, secluded property in Benedict Canyon. By 1969, Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant with their first child, a son they planned to name Paul Richard, and it should have been the beginning of a new chapter for both of them. But instead, it became the end of an era. Now we come to one of the darkest nights in American history. On the evening of August 8, 1969, while Roman was in London working on a film, Sharon Tate stayed at home at Charlotte Drive with several of her friends. That night, 4 members of so-called Manson family arrived at the home on orders from their leaders, Charles Manson. And why? Because Manson believed that the race war, which he called Helter Skelter, inspired by the Beatles song, and he thought that this race war was imminent. He thought that the murders would spark this war. He also harbored resentment towards a record producer who once lived at that address, and somehow in his twisted mind, the current residents were just collateral damage. The murders were savage. So Stephen Parent was shot as he attempted to drive away. Inside the house, the others were terrorized. Jay Serbrink was shot and stabbed. Frykowski and Folger tried to flee, but they were caught and brutally killed. Sharon Tate was pleading for the life of her unborn child, but she was stabbed 16 times. Also, when the killers left, they wrote the word pig in Sharon's blood on the front door. Of course, these murders shocked the world. Not just because of the brutality, but because of who the victims were. Young, successful, and seemingly untouchable. Los Angeles and Hollywood in particular changed overnight. Celebrities hired bodyguards, installed alarm systems, and began to see the city in a new, sinister light. The optimism and free-spiritedness of the 60s counterculture gave way to fear and paranoia. And the Manson family was eventually arrested. Charles Manson and several followers were convicted in 1971. They were sentenced to death, though the sentences were later commuted to life in prison after California abolished the death penalty. And Sharon Tate's legacy, however, has undergone a different arc. For years, she was known primarily as a murder victim, but more recently, she has been remembered as an artist in her own right. Her surviving films, interviews, and photographs reveal a woman of grace, ambition, and potential that unfortunately was never fulfilled. Her family, especially her mother, Doris Tate, became a vocal victims' rights advocate. In fact, Doris helped lead a movement to ensure that the Manson killers would never be paroled, a cause Sharon's surviving family continues to support till this day. Roman Polaski was devastated. He never returned to the Cello Drive house, and he later said that he often blamed himself for Sharon's death, for not being there, for encouraging a lifestyle that he felt might have made them vulnerable. He continued his filmmaking career, earning global acclaim. We'll go over it a bit later, but his legacy is controversial. In March 1977, Roman Polanski, who was 43 at that time, was arrested in Los Angeles after allegations surfaced that he had invited a 13-year-old girl to Jack Nicholson's home, and under a pretext that they're going to make a Vogue photo shoot or something like that. It is said that he gave her sedative medication and champagne before sexually assaulting her. The grand jury indicted Polanski on 6 felony counts, but in August 1977, Polanski accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor. So the more serious charges were dropped. Judge ordered Polaski to undergo a 90-day psychiatric evaluation in a California state prison, which effectively delayed sentencing. But however, in 1978, anticipating incarceration, he fled the United States to Europe, avoiding sentencing and triggering an arrest warrant and international travel restrictions. So since 1978, Polanski has lived largely in France and still faced periodic legal motions. Like in December 2008, his lawyer tried to dismiss the case, arguing sentencing abuses and misconduct, but the judge rejected this motion and ordered Polaski to physically return to court. In 2022, unsealed transcripts indicated the judge may have violated courtrooms protocols during sentences, but still, courts have consistently declined to clear Polanski and require his return. Jack Nicholson was not implicated in any wrongdoing. He wasn't at home during the incident, and reports show he had no knowledge of this crime. His then partner, Angelica, witnessed Polanski and the girl leaving. She later remarked that Polanski didn't seem like a predator, saying, "I think he's an unhappy man." Though this comment drew criticism, obviously due to the victim's age and trauma. In 2017, the victim herself, Samantha Gamer, personally requested dismissal of the criminal case. She called it a 40-year sentence on both of them, but her request was denied. Roman Polanski settled in France, where he holds citizenship. France has no extradition treaty with the United States for its citizens, so it offers him a safe haven. Over the years, he also spent time in Switzerland and Poland, but always very cautiously, avoiding countries that might comply with extradition requests. In 1989, he married brilliant French actress Emmanuelle Seigner, who appeared in several of his films, and they have 2 children together. Despite being a fugitive from U.S. justice, Polanski managed to maintain a relatively normal life in Europe, even walking red carpets and winning prestigious awards. Yet, Controversy followed him, particularly as more allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced in the 2010s. While Polaski continues to find support among some European peers, many film festivals and institutions have distanced themselves. In 2012, he was expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the same organization that once gave him an Oscar. So it's very controversial. And yet Polanski's body of work remains influential. His command of tone, narrative structure, and psychological tension places him among the most skilled directors in film history. Though often discussed in the context of Scandal, there is no denying that Polanski's impact on the world of film. His work spans genres, languages, and decades, whether creating psychological horror, historical epics, or political thrillers. Polanski consistently pushes the boundaries in visual storytelling. So let's explore some of his more memorable and widely recognized films, the ones that helped define his legacy in world cinema. Polanski's first feature film that I already mentioned, Knife in the Water, was made in Poland and is often hailed as one of the most impressive debuts in film history. His English language debut, Repulsion, is a masterclass in psychological horror, stars beautiful, gorgeous Catherine Deneuve as a young woman whose descent into madness is depicted with claustrophobic intensity. It is shot in black and white and filled with weird imagery. So Repulsion is still studied today for its sound design and the use of space. It's really a film that gets under your skin. Arguably, Polanski's most iconic work, Rosemary's Baby, redefined horror. The story follows a young woman played by Mia Farrow who becomes pregnant under mysterious circumstances, and she suspects a satanic cult that is involved. It was both a box office hit and a critical darling, blending supernatural horror with real-world paranoia. The film earned Ruth Gordon an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress and established Polanski as a top-tier Hollywood director. Its slow burn, haunting atmosphere, and definitely shocking ending continue to influence filmmakers till this day. Another hit, often cited as one of the greatest American films ever made, Chinatown, a neo-noir classic starring Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. The screenplay by Robert Towne is brilliant, but it's Polanski's direction that turns this mystery into a tragic, almost Shakespearean tale of corruption and loss. His decision to give the film its now famous ending, which is different from the original script, it definitely was bold and unforgettable. Chinatown earned 11 Oscar nominations and won Best Original Screenplay. So many consider it Polanski's greatest English language film. After fleeing the United States in 1978, Polanski directed Tess. Visually stunning and emotionally devastating. The film was dedicated to Sharon Tate, Polanski's wife, who had recommended the novel before her murder. And Tess won 3 Academy Awards. Another very famous movie, Pianist, that was made in 2002. And mark a dramatic return to critical favor. The Pianist, based on a true story of Polish Jewish pianist, is a searing portrayal of survival during the Holocaust. Polanski himself, a Holocaust survivor, brought some rawness to the film, and it actually won the Palme d'Or award at Cannes in France, and 3 Academy Awards, including Best Director for Polaski and Best Actor for Adrian Brody. It is perhaps the most personal movie that Roman made, emotionally restrained yet profoundly moving, and it's considered his late career masterpiece. I would say that every movie by Roman Polanski is a masterpiece, so it's hard to tell you about all of them, but I will try. But among my personal favorites would be 1992 erotic romantic thriller Be the Moon, 1999 neo-noir horror thriller The Ninth Gate, starring Johnny Depp, and then of course outstanding exploration of power and masochism in the movie called Venus in Furs that I already covered in my June episode of Frankie Stories. That is, by the way, still available to listen in recording. But after long consideration, I would say that my top favorite movie by Roman Polanski would be Death and the Maiden. And it is based on the 1990 stage play by Ariel Dorfman, a Chilean-Argentinian writer. It was adapted for the screen and directed by Polanski, who kept the film structure tight, intimate and faithful to its theatrical roots. The protagonist is Paulina Escobar, played by one of my favorite actresses, marvelous Sigourney Weaver. So her character is a former political prisoner who endured torture and sexual assault during the dictatorship. Years later, she's living in isolation with her husband, Gerardo, a lawyer who has just been appointed to a new human rights commission tasked precisely with investigating past abuses. One night, a stranger named Dr. Roberta Miranda, played by magnificent Ben Kingsley, brilliant actor. So Dr. Roberta Miranda stops by the house to help Gerardo with a flat tire. Totally accident. But once Paulina hears his voice and sees his behavior, she becomes convinced that Miranda is that man who was torturing and raping her for years. So, despite never seeing her captor's face at the time, Paulina sees that his voice, his smell, mannerism are unmistakable, that it's him. So she takes him hostage, basically at gunpoint, and stages a makeshift trial. And she's determined to extract the confession for him, that it was really him, and the guy just denies it. Oh, I'm just a stranger, I just was helping your husband with a flat tire. And so now her husband is caught in the middle. So he must decide whether he should protect due process, because that's actually his position right now. He investigates the past abuses, so, or should he support his wife's need for justice? It's such a brilliant movie, very underrated, but I watched it so many times, and it's brilliant actors, and the direction by Roman Polanski makes the movie really amazing. It's a gem. I strongly recommend it. So, while Roman Polanski's career is rich with cinematic achievement, it's also tied to the criminal charges he fled in 1978. So we have this ethical question of whether we can separate the artist from the art, or some institutions and audiences have chosen to boycott his films, and others continue to honor his works. But regardless of where one stands, Polanski's impact on the movie industry is undeniable. He gave us unforgettable images. A woman in a crumbling apartment losing her mind in repulsion. A mother betrayed by those around her in Rosemary's Baby. A detective uncovering a web of corruption in Chinatown, or a pianist surviving the unspeakable in The Pianist. Such different characters and different stories, yet each one of them is brilliant and it gets under your skin. And these films are not just stories, they are reflections of fear, trauma, and power, themes that have defined both Polanski's life and his cinema. The story of Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate is also not just about two famous people. It's about the world that lost its innocence. It's about how darkness can creep into even the brightest lives. Because when it happened, no one could imagine that such cruelty and such violence could possibly exist, especially towards the protected figures in our society, like a pregnant woman, young, beautiful, that just started her life, had the whole life in front of her, her career, motherhood, marriage, so much in front of her, and how it was taken away from, not only from her, but also not only from her husband, her family, but also for the whole world, how such cruelty could possibly exist. But I think that this story is also about the remembrance. In remembering Sharon Tate, we don't just remember a victim. We remember a woman who loved, who created, who had a future that should never have been stolen. So I think that we should honor her memory, not just by recalling how she died, but by remembering how she lived and that beautiful talent that still was shining and shines till this day, because there are so many beautiful images of her and interviews and movies. And I see it more right now, because I remember when I first heard about that story and when I first heard the name of Sharon Tate, of course it was connected to this horrifying chapter in Hollywood's history. So I didn't know anything about her works. And now I see the shift, especially on social media, that the people are sharing her images and videos, and they acknowledge her talent and the brightness inside of her that truly existed. And maybe that was something that even attracted those evil people. So
I really enjoyed hearing about, well, everything about Roman Polanski, and I love the way that that you're honoring Sharon Tate. Thank you so much. This was really great, and that music means it's the end of the show. Thanks very much. Thank you, listeners, for being with us, and talk to you next time.
Thank you so
night.
much, Chuck.
Thank you so much, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our
Thank you.
beautiful
Thank you to
audience.
our beautiful
Thank you for
audience.
listening to me.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who is supporting me, who is here with me. I really appreciate each and one of you. Good night.